Alright, this is a video demo of how to sculpt a skull using SculptGL. SculptGL is a browser-based sculpting app, so you don't have to download anything, you just go to the website. So if you're looking for it, just do a search for SculptGL and you'll see Stephanie Genier is the inventor. Also invented Nomad, which you can have for your phone or your iPad, for example. It's a pretty decent app. So anyway, it's got its limitations, but if you get a little comfortable with it, it'll work. I do have demos on how to use SculptGL. I guess I should probably post that as well. But what we're looking at is the sculpting and painting portion is what you mostly need. Rendering, rendering is mostly, it looks like a material. So you could choose different materials. It will look like different materials. We're not worried about that. This is fine. Topology can be important, not for this project so much, but for other projects. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to probably just try to stay using the tools right here, the sculpting tools. And so right here you have all these different tools. I have to kind of get reacquainted myself. Let's see. Inflate, twist, smooth, flatten, pinch, crease, drag, paint, move. I guess brush is the basic one. Brush. So there's a negative. So I'll demonstrate it as I go along. I don't want to bog you down too much. So the first thing you want to do is pick this out. I've got basically two windows open here, one for SculptGL and one for my images. So I've done a human skull image search. I typed in human skull reference. There's so many human skull images online, and we're just looking for straight up regular human skull. Nothing done by an artist because you can't trust it too much. And we want a side view, we want a front view. This is kind of a bit of a back view. We'll look for a back view as well. And this is a 3/4 view. And so we'll start out with the front view. And let's see, bring this back. So maybe the first thing to do, you could do a couple different things. I'll try drag, see what happens. It's also in symmetry mode right here, symmetry, and you want that. Let's see, intensity, radius. So I want to go to drag. I don't want the tool to be that big. Radius tells you how big the tool is, so I'm bringing the form down a little bit here to give basically the jaw, the chin. This could come up in the back. We know that that's going to come up. This comes in. So I already kind of know skull proportions, so I'm kind of relying on that a little bit. And what I'm keeping in mind is that the widest point of the skull is really back here. So we could bring that up. So that's the widest point of the skull. The next widest would be the cheekbones here, and the next widest would be the jaw right here. So this up here, really this comes out to be the widest on this skull. But generally speaking, the widest point would be somewhere here. this would be the next widest point. Sorry, didn't want to do that. And then this is the next widest point. So the parietal eminence is the part that's on the cranium. The zygomatic arch is the cheekbone, and the angle of the jaw is the part that's on the mandible. So I've kind of got it roughed out there, and I did that by using the drag tool. Now we could go into the brush, and I'll start out with the negative. You could press Alt, or you could just go to negative. I'll probably press the Alt button, and I want my radius to be smaller, something like that. And so I'll probably just start out by creating, see that the Alt gives you a negative space, a negative shape. I'm gonna click off clay. Clay flattens it out. You get a rounder kind of version of it without that clay button being pressed. And that's not very good. When you look at the eye sockets, you see that there's a slant, like this slant right here. You can see this comes down, and the bottom part is more rounded, but this is kind of straight, this is kind of straight, and then you have this angle. So you could think of straight angle down, a little slope down, and then a curve right here. I kind of have that. It's not perfect. I'm going to make it perfect later. Here's the brow ridge, so I can probably add that right now. And I'm not pressing Alt, so it's a positive. And I can bring the nose out if I want, so that's going to be positive. Let's bring this down. You can see that this lines up well. That's probably okay. Let's make the negative of the nasal cavity right here. So I'm going to press Alt using the brush tool. Okay. So I'll probably do some negative work here too, so I'm going to press Alt. And you could think of it this way. This edge right here lines up with the center of the eye sockets, so you want to come in a little bit. And now what we have is where the cheekbone is. So, and really the strength is dialed up a little bit high on. I usually like to creep up on forms a little bit more. I don't want the strength to usually be as high up as that, but I'm not going to worry about it too much right now. Alright, so we could bring this out a little bit too. This is called the mental process, or mental protuberance. And that's the part of the chin, and my guess is, since humans have a strong chin compared to animals in their skull, a lot of animals don't have this prominence right here. It's connected with intelligence. Back in the olden days, they thought of this as a... So I think that's why it's called mentalis, but I don't know. That's just a guess. So we could bring that out a little bit. That's actually a pretty ugly mentalis, but it's getting us started. So next we go to the side view. And I'm rushing through this pretty quick. So hopefully that's not a problem. You can pause it whenever you want to. So what I might do to bring this back, I see that this comes back a little bit more. I also see that this is tilted differently, so let's see what we could do to rotate. Yeah, I don't know if there. Oh, here we go. You go to transform. That's where you get your rotate. So transform gives you this tool. So if you go to this box, you change that dimension. Control Z takes you back. You go to this, takes you to that. Control Z undoes it. If you go to the center part, oh, I guess that's the move tool. If you go to this, that outer ring scales it up. So rotate would be this inner ring. So I'm going to rotate it to match the photograph. That'll help me. So let's go back to tools. Let's go back to brush. What I could do here is I could see that this is called the I think it's called the ramus, the body of the jaw. I'm sorry, I should have the since we don't have our texts, I'm not going to get too much into the names, but I'll mention them when I see them. So anyway, this right here, part of the jaw, you can see this negative part comes back to probably about the center of the zygomatic arch. So I'm going to press Alt, and so I'm going to push that in a little bit like that, right? We could go to the drag tool and we could bring out some of this form a little bit. Radius is a little bit too big, probably the strength is a little bit too high, so we're going to bring this, so we're bringing that out a little bit, bringing the teeth out. So we could bring this out too. So again, that's just using this drag tool. That's not very good. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the brush and we'll build it out that way. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty ugly. Let's go to the smooth tool. For smooth, you want to have the intensity down, because it takes away a lot. So Control Z will have the intensity down to 1. See what happens, and that way you're not taking too much away. Alright, so looks like the back of the cranium right here could come down a little bit more, so maybe we go back to drag, bring this down a little bit. Control Z. Alright, so there's that. Maybe we could bring the zygomatic arch back a little bit more. So I'm going to go back to the brush tool. And then maybe this comes back more than I have it. I have it a little bit more forward. So in this right here, the temporal line, usually this is the wide point generally. Just clicked on that too much. This is the white point right here, the parietal eminence. This on this skull came out quite a bit. So I'm going to bring that back like that, even though it looks weird. Let's find out what flatten does. Usually the intensity you want to keep low on stuff like that. Again, this is not going to be like an amazing skull. Demo. Okay. Drag. Bring that in a little bit. Bring that in a little bit. Okay, bring this out a little bit. Let's go back to the side. Bring this back a little bit. We could bring this up. Okay. Let's go to see what we have in different view. 3/4. Let's go back to the brush tool. Alt, press Alt right here. If I could turn that skull, you'd see that this cavity is kind of a negative cone, and it inverts, and the peak of that cone is towards the nose. It's not straight back. So I guess if I turn the skull to be the same view, you can see that that's where that is. You could do that. I'm going to bring the intensity down on this and try to get a little more control over this shape a little bit. Yeah, if you have the intensity down, you could control it a little bit better. Let's see. So I'm using the brush tool right now, the positive part of it. Let's go back into the negative using the Alt, trying to get something here a little more defined. You can see how there's like this divot in here. So I'm going to use the draw tool, this brush tool, negative, Alt, pressing Alt, just kind of create a depression there. You can see it even kind of comes down to here too. So, hey, how about we use crease? So crease, if you press Alt for crease, we want the strength to be down probably. You could get an edge. So if you just do crease, oh no, it's the opposite, I think. Bring the intensity up. Let me see what happens if I press Alt. So yeah, crease will give you a peak, and if you press Alt, it'll give you a kind of a wrinkle. So let's see. I don't know what the strength it should be on this. So let's go along the edge here, and it can sharpen edges. SculptGL is not my sculpting tool of choice, so I'm not as practiced with it. But I like it. You know, I don't dislike it. Let's see. So this is kind of a peak form, so we could use the crease tool on that. Here you can see it's doing its thing, and maybe it's nice to have that part defined too. Okay, how about this? We could define that edge. Boy, that's one horrible skull. Let's go to smooth, and let's dial it up a little bit. The smooth tool on this I don't like too well. It's kind of silly. And the way the dots, it gives you two dots, it lets you see the other dot. This one dot is the center on this side. The other dot would be the other side of the skull. And it's not necessary to see that because you can't see the other side of the skull. So that's rather annoying. It changes the way you think of this tool a little bit. Alright. So, yeah, usually you can spend a lot of time using the smooth tool. It just takes a little bit of practice to get comfortable with it, I guess. Let's go back to the front view. Drag, maybe radius a little bit. Sometimes I'll increase the size of the radius if I want the move to be more gentle. If you have the radius small for the drag, for what I'm doing right now, it's more specific in a smaller area and you don't get a gentle movement. Let's bring this in a little bit. Push it in a little bit there. Let's use a flat tool to kind of round out this area. I don't know if it's on too strong. Okay, let's go back to the side view. Let's go to the brush. I'm just building this out here a little bit more, zygomatic. And then I'm going to press the Alt button to get the negative area. That radius could be dialed up a little bit, maybe not that much. Go to the smooth tool. Let's maybe, where's the strength of the smooth tool? Let's go up a little bit. Let's try to get some definition there. Let's go back to drag. The radius could be lower. It's more of a corner. The corner of the jaw is, if it was on a clock. Let me show you for a second. All right. Say that's your skull. That's kind of aligned correctly. So you could think of this angle as a 4 o'clock angle. So on the other way, it would be 8 o'clock, right? So that's the angle that you get. It's not a right angle. It's not 45 degrees, but it's whatever the clock would be, 4 o'clock, okay? So I might be wrapping this up just to give you an idea. Let's go back to see what we could do about the teeth. Let's go to crease. Didn't give me crease. Alright, so let's go to the front view. Wait, we don't want to. So we could press crease so that it gives you like the sharpness of the bottom of the row of the teeth. And then press Alt to go underneath that. And I'm not used to this crease tool, so I don't know what happens if I dial. Let's see. I guess you could kind of dial that up a little bit, but it looks like the mesh here is really kind of funny. So it's not giving me a chance to get a nice even. Let's go to drag. And in case you haven't noticed, the way I deal with this stuff is I go to a little bit here and there. I work the whole thing at the same time. I don't just like say, okay, I'm going to make the perfect eye socket, then I'm going to move on. You got to do a little bit here and there from every angle. Like I say, this is new for me, this app. So I apologize if it's not as great a demo as it could be. Let's build this up down here a little bit. We could get rid of the grid if we want to. Let's see. Go to brush, build that out a little bit. Let's try smooth, dial up the intensity a little bit. Yeah, the 2 dots is weird. We only need the 1 dot. It's supposed to be a reminder that you're working in symmetry, but I think you can see it happen symmetrically without the dots. So I'm still using the smooth, and I guess with smooth you have to dial it up a little bit. So now let's do the teeth. Everybody likes to do, well, how about we do this first? Let me try flatten tool on this. Control Z. I didn't like that too well. Alright. Maybe that helps a little bit. So how about we just try making the teeth with brush? We need that to be smaller. I need to get that in the go to the arrow to move it up a little bit there. Alright, so let's see what we have with the teeth. Radius a little bit smaller. There's the front teeth. These are the eye teeth, the canines, the vampire fangs basically. Line up with the center of the eye socket. And then you can do that. We could go in. Yeah, it's hard to get real definition in SculptGL. This is our start though. So to go to crease, press Alt. Wait, Control Z. I didn't like that. Maybe that strength is a little bit too high. Press Alt. Let's bring those bottom teeth out a little bit more. Yeah, this is weird. Go back to drag. Bring this up a little bit more. Bring it out. This is weird. Let's bring this up more like that. Let's bring this out, the center of that. Bring this back a little bit more. Bring this chin out. So that's my first skull demo. You could do a lot more with it. This is SculptGL. I find Sculptress I have more control in Sculptress, but it's just a matter of getting practice in with your app. You know, once you get used to this and you understand its idiosyncrasies, you could do all right. All right, and then what I would do next is make screenshots. So I'll try to get a demo of that in there for you too. All right.